At exactly 10 a.m. on September 5th, 1882, a curious thing happened on the streets of Manhattan. A handful of working men, carpenters, cigar rollers, and clothing cutters, began to march from City Hall toward Union Square. They wore their trade aprons. They carried signs. They'd all given up a day's wages, but their cause was clear. They were there for labor and for lager. This was the first Labor Day in American history, a parade of protest wrapped in festivity, a march for dignity that ended in one of the largest beer-fueled political celebrations the country had ever seen. The event was organized by the Central Labor Union of New York, with support from the Knights of Labor. Their goals were ambitious but clear: an 8-hour workday, better wages, and recognition of the working class as a backbone of the American economy. But to make a statement, they had to stop the machine, so they chose a Tuesday, a normal workday. The plan was simple: halt productivity, draw the public's attention, and show employers what a city looks like without its workers. By 9 a.m., police had cordoned off Lower Manhattan. The city braced for disruption, but at first the parade nearly failed. Only a scattering of marchers appeared at City Hall. Organizers panicked. Then came salvation, led by a brass band. Newark's Jewelers Union arrived in full regalia, drums beating and banners waving. The energy shifted. Slowly, thousands joined the line. By the time the march reached Union Square, estimates put the crowd between 10,000 and 20,000 strong. They marched to the rhythm of music, hoisting signs that read, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, 8 hours for what we will. They marched past shops that would normally be open, past astonished onlookers, toward Reservoir Park, better known today as Elm Park. And that's where the real party began. What followed was part political demonstration, part folk festival. Workers danced, families picnicked, speeches echoed across the park. But the centerpiece of the celebration was beer. Everywhere you turned, there were lager beer kegs mounted in every conceivable place. Breweries had donated freely. Kegs were propped on carts, tucked under trees, and set atop makeshift stands. For the working class, beer wasn't just a drink. It was tradition, community, and resistance in a glass. Participants toasted to labor and to each other. The parade had cost them a day's pay, but it had given them something far more valuable: visibility, dignity, and joy. This mix of solemnity and celebration would become the DNA of Labor Day. The 1882 parade set a tone that persists today. Picnics and parades, yes, but also the memory of sacrifice, of workers who had no protections, who faced long hours, dangerous conditions, and pitiful wages, and who responded not with riots or violence, but with organization, unity, and lager. Despite the festive atmosphere, the political undertone was impossible to miss. Every banner was a demand, every keg a quiet rebellion, every clink of a glass a declaration that labor deserved leisure. In the years that followed, the idea spread. Labor Day parades popped up in other cities. The Central Labor Union held the event again in 1883, this time with even larger numbers. The fusion of political messaging and convivial celebration became a model for worker gatherings across the country. But it wasn't until tragedy struck that Labor Day became federal. In 1894, following the violent suppression of the Pullman strike and the deaths of workers at the hands of federal troops, Congress passed legislation making Labor Day a national holiday, an effort to appease the labor movement and ease tensions. Yet that first celebration in 1882 remains iconic, not just for its scale, but for its spirit. The working class didn't just demand respect. They demanded the right to rest, to gather, to raise a glass under the open sky. And so, on that Tuesday in September, America saw something new: a political parade that ended not in protest, but in a picnic, where justice marched beside joy, and where every pint poured was a vote cast for the future of labor. If you liked what you watched, please like and subscribe. We post interesting and crazy stories from throughout history every Wednesday and Saturday. Yesterday's craziness? Because yesterday was crazy too.